I want to talk to you some more about the cold jaw grippers that I make and the differences that they offer versus the ones that come with your cold jaws. The ones that come with your cold jaws look like this. I'm sure you've seen them, you're familiar with them if you have them. And they are simply molded rubber, probably neoprene, and they're rough molded. In other words, they're not machined afterwards. So there's little dividing line of mold across the top, and that's probably where you're going to be gripping a lot of your vessels anyway. There's nothing inside of this rubber. By that I mean there's no internal core. So the amount of squish or spread out that you get when you tighten this is dependent upon how much you tighten it, and that applies to all 8 of the grippers that you put on your cold jaws. The ones that I make are like this. They have a Tygon hose on there as a gripping surface, and it acts quite similar to this neoprene. It's really about the same density. The critical difference is, you see right down the center, that's an aluminum core, and that runs the whole length to the base, and that's where you put your screw. So these will mount in one way, this way, just like these only mount one way because of the pocket that is there for the screw head. And they'll go on your chuck like this. One of the advantages is that with that machined core, you don't get run out. All of these are really going to be identical to each other. You can't change the spread out when you tighten it because the screw tightens onto the aluminum core, and that's where it stops. So there's no stress put on the outer gripping surface when you tighten them in. How that comes to an advantage is when you want to mount something like this vessel here. This is going to be a core for a client. They're going to use this for some kind of ceramic work. So I'm just making the shape, and what I've got to do now that I've turned most of it, I'm going to turn the foot. I want to put that in my cold jaws so you can see what I've done is I've tightened them to the initial point where it just fits in. Now I'm going to tighten it the rest of the way, but what I'm going to do is get it where it's snug, like there. There's no play. Now I'm going to push that down and rest the surface on the shoulders. These shoulders stick out just a tiny bit, about a 32nd or so, just enough to grab an edge like that. Then when I tighten it, it's home. Let me show you. As you can see, there's no run out here. This is not wavering at all. Let's turn the lathe on, and it's spinning pretty good. And you know yourself, to check for run out, you can lay something on top of it. And there's no vibration. This thing's not hopping. It's just sitting there. There's no tailstock in the end. That's just how true these cold jaw grippers will hold your piece. I wanted to clear that up. Some people weren't really clear on what I meant by run out. That's what I mean. Since all these are going to be identical, and since they're not going to be affected by how much you tighten it, they're always going to be true to the chuck, and therefore your piece is going to run true on the lathe when you mount it. Thank you.